Why, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Creative Diaries, a podcast where we explore the creative healing process, where I invite you to witness me be completely and utterly unprepared, and where I am practicing being myself. I can't tell you how many times I started this video. I feel like starting is an impossible task, which is why I always try to remind myself that starting is just an illusion. Everything is always already arriving and continuing. But yeah, to hit record and to start a little introduction, I'm always like, wait, how do I do this again? I'm either always taking myself way too seriously or not seriously at all. And I I waffle a bit. I'm like, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be now? Which actually will be a theme for today's episode. So, today's episode, we are at the end of December 2024, and this is my first time, my first round of Creative Diaries where I will be doing a review of the month. So the idea here is that I release a public episode um, once a month at the end of the month where I can go through a review process, a reflection process for myself and go, okay, what the hell just happened? Like, what is going on? What's interesting about this particular portal of time, aside from this being my first attempt at doing this ritual process, is that it's also the last month of the year, which is just so intense, right? It's like always so intense. At least for me, it is. And so not only am I reflecting on this past month, but I feel like I am reflecting on the whole year. And there is this backwards reflection. And there's also this projection into the future, right? This curiosity, wondering what wants to come next. And so I will say, I have some bullet points of things that I would like to express. However, I'm already feeling overwhelmed by like how much possibility there is for me to go down different rabbit holes. So I promise you absolutely nothing in terms of the plan of what I'm going to share, but I'm going to open up my notes here and I'll start because this will help me feel a little bit more grounded. I'll start by reading you my notes, which this might be interesting in and of itself. Um, I wrote the plan in quotes, no plan, the art of being unprepared. The clown helps me play human being, dancing, contact, commitment. I am is in all caps, of course. I am in the driver's seat. I am in no obligation to stay the same. Fear of losing. Anger is also in all caps. And then I wrote, maybe the healing journey is just growing up. Okay. So I first want to say I do use this phrase healing journey quite often. And part of me is like, oh my God, that's so cheesy. Like, it's so cheesy. We're all overusing this sort of phrase, healing journey. Um, However, I really can't think of a better way to describe it. I mean, there's many ways to describe it, but just this sort of the bigness of the healing journey, it feels really apropos. I don't know if I'm using that term correctly. It feels really accurate uh, in terms of my experience of it, that it's like all about the process, all about the journey and not about the destination. Again, as cheesy as it sounds, but that to me is the feeling of it. Now, something else has emerged for me recently where I feel like I'm going through an individuation process and maybe a second individuation process or the first individuation process. Basically, I feel like this past year, has initiated me into the process of growing up. Now, as you can see and hear, I already am technically a grown up. I'm in my 30s. However, age is but a number. And I've been thinking a lot about the growing up process and what it really means to be a mature adult, an autonomous human navigating the world and all of our relationships and our responsibilities. And feeling for myself and reflecting on all of the ways that we humans get stuck. We get stuck in the past, right? I'm even getting this image right now of like webs, like getting caught in a spider web of the past, right? These parts of ourselves that never got the chance to heal, that never got the chance to grow up entirely. And so when we're on this so-called healing journey, a lot of it is a retrieval process where, and this is what they talk about, that this is not a linear path, because time is not linear. Consciousness is not linear. The way that we grow up is not linear, right? So just because I'm XYZ old doesn't mean that all of my parts, all of my selves inside of myself are that age, right? There are parts within all of us that are younger, and I'd even say older as well. But when we're like trying to move forward in the linear manifest world, right? When we're, for instance, crossing over the threshold into the new year and saying, I have these goals, I have these ambitions, this is what I want. I want to be able to create, I want to be able to create the life that I want to live. And so there's this attempt to move forward. And yet sometimes we get stuck in the spider web of the past. And so we need to go through this very nonlinear process of retrieval, of going back, of going backwards. Or you could even view this as bringing the past forward into the present and meeting these parts of ourselves that are still young, that are still scared, abandoned, not taken care of, confused, right? So this is like we're bringing them along with us. And I like this word retrieval because it's kind of like you're going back to then go, come on, everybody. All of the parts of me that I've abandoned in the past. It's like, okay, come with me now. You can trust me now. I'm here. I'm here. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of you. And actually, in fact, I need you. I need you just as much as you need me because all of us want to move forward. um, so I've been thinking about maturity and what that really means. And of course, it means many things. Where I am at with my maturing process now is the very grueling and intense work of embodiment and being with my nervous system and my feelings and my sensations, and growing the capacity and tolerance to be able to hold more, to hold more. And to me, maturity is being able to stay present and to stay lucid, right? That there's some kind of clear channel of consciousness, a clarity of the self, or a clarity of I am in the midst of intense emotions, in the midst of some kind of intensity. So this could be inner intensity, right? An inner intensity of emotions, how we're feeling. Could also be the intensity of the world, the intensity of the relational field, right? Being in a tense moment with someone, being able to bear tension, being able to bear tension. And there are so many ways that we sort of diffuse the intensity. And we do this to protect ourselves. We do this because it's too much. We do this because we haven't quite learned the strength to be able to hold more. So this is where the nervous system stuff comes in, right? We all have these patterns of how we deal when we are in some way feeling distressed or overwhelmed or threatened, right? I myself, I'm a flight gal. Actually, I lean towards flight, freeze, and fawn. And actually, fight, my fight response is actually something that I'm working on to be able to balance out my own system. But I'll talk about that later. Um, but so there's these nervous system states: flight, flight, fight, freeze, and fawn. And when we're in a moment of intensity and overwhelm or a feeling perceived threat, if we go out of what's called our window of tolerance, if something becomes too much, then we'll go to these habitual patterns to protect ourselves. Ooh, there's a red bird outside. I feel like we're matching outfits. So beautiful. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Um, So this is what I'm talking about is like being able to stay longer in the moment of intensity without going to these habitual ways that make us diffuse the intensity, right? So for example, if I am in an argument or a tense moment with a friend, my tendency in my nervous system, my habit, right? The habit that formed a long, long time ago is for me to want to flee, right? If there's intensity in a conversation, I want to change the subject. I want to make a joke. And if I can't do that, if I'm truly stuck in this conversation, then I will dissociate, right? Something in me will shut out. Um, and I don't usually notice this in the moment that it's happening, but I'll notice it afterwards when I walk away from the moment and I think back to myself, wait, what just happened? And I literally can't remember. There's something like, so something in my consciousness uh, protects me, right? That like a protector comes in and is just like, nope, we are not taking in this energy, right? And so that's an example for me. It's a way that I diffuse the intensity. If your habitual response is to fight or to um, sort of have more impulsive behaviors, right? This is another way to diffuse intensity, right? To be reactive or to sabotage or to fight, right? To sort of get the thing over with as soon as possible, right? That's another example of not being able to hold the intensity of the moment or the emotions, right? So if we're quick to anger, and not just anger, but to react with anger or aggression. It's a way that there's so much heat inside, there's so much tension. It's a way that we go, wow, we try to get it out of our bodies. It's because our bodies cannot hold it, right? I have the opposite response where I'll shut down. So if there's any intensity running through my body, any fire running through my body, that protector will come in and shut down the feeling. So I actually don't have access to it. Yeah. So I'm just naming all of these sort of like flavors. We all have these flavors of the way that we deal with intensity. We like to avoid, we like to well, we don't like to, but we tend to avoid, hide, fight, manipulate. Um, yeah, we do all of these dances to remove ourselves from the moment. And so the past well, I don't know how to track this time, but definitely in the past month, I've been practicing really staying with the feeling that's in my body. And it honestly sometimes feels like, what's the image I'm getting? It does feel like a battle. Sometimes it feels like a battle. It's like I'm holding on for dear life. I don't know. Maybe it's like I'm in the middle of the ocean. I'm on a boat, right? I'm on a boat in the middle of the ocean and like the water is roaring waves and I'm like holding on for dear life. And the part of me that's holding on for dear life is the part of my consciousness that is connected to my authentic self. And I go, I'm going to hold on. I'm going to hold on to this awareness. I'm going to hold on to myself so that I don't leave myself or so I don't leave this moment. I want to be here. I want to be here for this moment. And I also want to stay lucid in the way that I'm responding. I want to have agency and choice over the way that I'm responding, the way that I am response able. I want to be able to respond. And the way that I can do that is by staying connected to my authenticity. And the authenticity is the connection to our inner sense of self. That is authenticity. And then with that awareness or with that connection, there's more awareness and options for choices, right? Because now my mind can still remain clear or clear enough to be able to see the choice that I have in responding to whatever situation I find myself in. Yes. So to me, that is maturity, growing into having more space and capacity to hold intensity and to remain conscious. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm just pausing for a moment because that feels like a nice bow to tie onto that. But there was also kind of something else I wanted to say. Maybe it'll come back to me. I'm looking at my notes now and my eyes are drawn to anger, the word in all caps that says anger. So this past month for me, there's been a few sort of big flare ups of anger for me, like these trigger moments that trigger something deep within me that has been repressed, exiled, or gone unnoticed. And I'm feeling into how I want to enter into sharing with you because there's a a do I call it a practice? I don't know. Sometimes like I don't like saying what I do to take care of myself as a practice. Oh my gosh, that's a whole other rabbit hole. Why don't I like saying that? I don't like saying that because I don't have a fixed practice. There's not like there's not like a structure to what I do in how I take care of myself. Sometimes there is. Sometimes there is. But most of the time, the way that I take care of my healing process, the way I take care of myself, is simply through feeling intuitively to what my body needs at any given moment. And so, really, the only thing I can say about my practice is just creating space, is I create space and time to allow my body to tell me what it needs to move through. And this can look in so many different ways. Sometimes it's movement, sometimes it's rest, sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's spontaneous expression, singing, walking, right? It can be many things, praying. So I say that to say that this past month, there's been a few big waves of this sensation of fire and sensation of rage and anger through my body. And I want to share with you what that looked like for me. I started to feel that tension rising in my body. And I also started to feel all of the parts of myself that were trying to interrupt, that were trying to hold it together, that were trying to mask the anger, parts of myself that tried to shut it down, the part of my mind that is saying, um, that is telling me that my feelings of anger are not valid, right? So the part that wants to dismiss my true authentic feeling. So all of these, I would notice when the wave of really intense emotion started to come up, so did all of these, I'll call them protector parts, come in to try to basically fight the feeling, to say, nope, this feeling is not okay. This feeling does not belong here. And this, circling back to the maturity process, this is the inner battle. This is the inner battle. This is me out to sea, like holding on for dear life, where I'm just like, no, 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 no. This feeling has to live. This feeling has to live. And I have to remain conscious. I have to remain conscious to honoring what is coming up for me, right? And saying, okay, I know all of you protectors, all of you protector parts that are coming in. I know what you're trying to do. I appreciate it, but I need space right now. I need space to be able to feel this feeling. And then even in that process, like the rage just got even bigger and bigger and bigger. Like anytime that the rage would bump up against my own limitations of me not allowing to feel the feeling, the angrier it got. The more I kind of went into my own story, my own history, and getting mad about it, getting mad that I was never allowed to get angry, right? Getting mad that no one ever taught me how to be with this feeling. No one ever taught me how to be with this emotion. No one ever taught me my boundaries. No one taught me how to connect with myself. No one taught me how to say no or how to say yes, how to say I need more time. And so with this feeling and in allowing myself to have the feeling also showed me why it was so fucking angry. And it was as if every moment in my entire life that I've had my boundaries crossed, whether that was due to myself crossing my own boundaries, someone else crossing my boundaries, or me crossing someone else's boundaries, anytime a boundary was crossed, it was as if all of those memories, some of them were conscious and some of them were just in this wave of feeling coming up for me. And so as I felt this wave rise, I knew that I needed to take care of myself in a space where I could really be with it on my own. And so there were a few nights where I closed my bedroom door, I put music in my ears, and I danced. I fucking danced. There was a moment where I started to put on this really kind of beautiful ambient music. I turned it on and something like really did not feel right about it. I was like, no, no, this is not the feeling. This is not the resonance. This is not the vibration of what my feeling is. So I switched it. I typed into Spotify shamanic drums. And I just turned up the volume, turned up the drums in my ears, and I let myself dance. I let myself move. I let myself feel my feet on the ground. I felt my feet spread like sponges, get really heavy. I felt my feet stomping. I felt my legs rising. I felt my hips shaking. I felt my spine undulating side to side, like the wave-like movement of the emotion rising and coming up. I unfroze my face. I unfroze my face. I looked at myself in the mirror and I made horrifying faces, faces that I had never allowed myself to express. These affects of expression through my mouth, my teeth. I let myself snarl and growl and point my eyes. I let myself come into my animal body. I let myself embody what it would be like to fight, to hunt, to protect. And so this is how I'm able to feel the wisdom of anger, the wisdom of the fire in my body, the fire element, teaching me something about sacred boundaries, teaching me something about the sacredness of protecting myself. And as intense as it is, when we protect ourselves, it is a direct expression of self-value and self-love. If I didn't care about myself, then I wouldn't fight for myself. And in the past, I haven't been able to fight for myself. I haven't been able to turn that on. And that's where all of the repressed anger starts to rise up. This sort of realization that I matter, that I care enough about myself to be able to say, this is what I want, this is who I am, this is my boundary. And this is what I'm learning. This is what I'm learning turn on, to turn on within myself with as much conscious awareness that I can possibly muster. Consciousness is not perfect. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that to acknowledge that as long as I am a human being, there will be shadows. As long as I am a human being, there will be parts of me that will be unconscious and remaining unconscious. However, in this growing up process, in this maturity process, in the healing journey, what happens is an expansion of consciousness, which means an expansion of light, which means that I'm shining more light on things that I could not see before. And to me, that's the whole thing. That's the whole thing. It's not perfect, as in, I will never uncover everything. As long as I am human, I will have shadows, I will have the unconscious. And I can also continue this journey of shining my light a little bit brighter, to expand a little bit further. And that this can give me more life force energy, more empowerment to be able to move and express and create. For me to be in touch with creative energy. So, yeah, it's also, I wanted to share because I don't know, if you feel inspired by what I shared about my practice, I invite you, excuse me, I invite you to try that on if that feels good to you. Just taking a sip of water. To try that on, oh my God, it's like a really revealing process to like look at yourself in the mirror and to start making faces. Start making faces. Unfreeze your face. Unfreeze your face. If you think about masking, everyone masks, right? We all have different degrees to how we mask, but if we are a human in this world who is socialized, and within the confines of our culture and social conditioning, there will be masking that happens where we hide our authenticity, we hide our authentic feeling and expression. And I actually really love this word mask because if you think about a mask, what does it look like? It's stuck on one expression. It is a mask is not, it's not alive, it's not sentient. It's a prop. It's a costume, which we love costumes. I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But to unfreeze your face is literally engaging in an embodied process of unmasking, like letting that mask of yourself melt so that there's more expression available to you and that you start to get the sense information, right? So, like when I snarl and when I show my teeth and I growl, in that embodied process, I am getting in touch with the feeling of anger and protection. And so it's helping me access feelings or access a state that has been repressed. And also, I think it's just an interesting process too, because it's like when you start to move your body and unfreeze your body, like letting yourself move in the way that your body wants to move, it's almost impossible to not notice how much self-judgment and how much self-control is actually uh like really patterned in our behavior. Again, we're all going to have different degrees of this. Maybe you who's listening is just a, a wild, untamed human being, which I aspire to be myself. But most of us will really start to notice the ways that we control and police our own expression and behavior when we start to move our bodies in strange ways, in ways that we're not used to, and also in ways that, like, we'd be viewed as a crazy person if we were to be, moving this way in public. That's why doing it alone in your bedroom is amazing. And also going to community spaces where freedom of movement and freedom of expression is practiced and celebrated. This past month, I took an amazing five rhythms class. Five rhythms is a movement form that, is, yeah, it's all about just freedom of movement. And I've also been going to a lot of contact improv jams, which has also been a really significant thing for me. So, okay, I'm trying to feel into where I want to go next. I told you no promises. I have no promises as to what bullet points I'm going to cover. Um, yeah, the clown. The clown helps me play human being. Yeah, so kind of going back to costuming and masks. This past year, I have had just the immense privilege to be able to get into this art form called clowning. I kind of love and also dread the responses that I get from people when I say that. Most of the time, people give me a weird look because I guess it's kind of weird. I mean, to most people, it's a little bit on the fringe. When we think of a clown, we think of many things. I mean, um, I think in pop culture, the clown has also been demonized, like Pennywise and all that stuff. So I think there's a bit of fear around the clown, of course, by the way that the media has presented a lot of the this kind of scary clown characters. Um, and then also we think about like children's birthday parties and general silliness. And what I've been learning is, yes, clowning is all of those things. Clowning is all of those things. And I appreciate the pipeline of the clown, like the theatrical clown. Also, I'm not an expert on the history of this. So as I learn more, I can share more of like where clowning comes from. But right now I just have very rudimentary, more uh experiential practice of clowning. So all to say is what I appreciate is the theatrical clown pipeline to the scary clown. Because what I've learned about clowning is that it is just the most profound shadow work. Clowning, clowning is all about touching into these shadowy parts of ourselves. Clowning is all about retrieving the exiled parts of ourselves. And we take these parts of ourselves that we feel ashamed about, or scared about, or judged. We take these parts and they become our clown characters so that we can both bring them out to play, bring them out to be seen by the audience, bring them out to be seen by ourselves, and to to de-shame these parts of ourselves that we have exiled because we feel some shame around them. That's why I like and I kind of understand why the clown, at least one kind of strand of the clown, has evolved into this like scary clown because there are some scary parts inside of ourselves that we can really touch into when we're clowning. However, however, clowning is about entertainment. Clowning is about play. And clowning is about laughter and a real tenderness of sentimentality, sentiment. And it's also it's also about improvisation. It's also about shape-shifting. So this is what I really want to talk about. I call this clown consciousness. I don't know if anyone else calls it this. I don't know if this sort of term just popped up. I don't know where it came from, but I call this clown consciousness. And I've been playing with embodying clown consciousness, not just when I'm in the studio with other people doing doing clowning, but in my life, right? So like using these skills and transferring it into the consciousness of my everyday life. And clown consciousness to me is the consciousness that we are always playing a role. It's the awareness that we're always playing the role. So the clown consciousness is something that is sort of interstitial. The clown consciousness is the awareness of the self that is moving into different roles and into different costumes. And because there's a layer of awareness there, we don't become attached or merged with the role, right? Clown consciousness allows us to play with different identities, but not get attached to them. Clown consciousness allows us to play with different identities and not have the identity become who we are. And so I've also been working with this image of a clown butterfly. It's kind of ridiculous. I don't even know what a clown butterfly looks like, but I feel this quality in the butterfly too. The butterfly that's sort of landing from one flower to another, very light, very playful. And so this to me is like the clown consciousness, practicing going into a scene, going into a role. And when you're in the role, you are fully inhabiting the role, right? Like when you watch a clown or an actor, right? They are fully embodying and believing their role. So there is this fullness of expression. There is emotion. There is embodiment to this. And the brilliance about the clown is that even though they are fully committing to the role, they are fully committing to the story that they're in, they also know that they can change the story at any time. They know that they can change their role at any time. They know they could put on a different costume at any time. The clown can be in the middle of a scene and be fully in the scene and then go, I don't want to play this anymore. This is like, let's change. Let's change the scene. Let's do something else. Let's bring in something else. Let's bring in another element. And so, this is what we play with in the art of clowning. And it's something that we can play with in the art of living and life, right? To just have that awareness that we can change at any time. I have no obligation to stay the same. I can allow myself to change. And even just as I say that, and whenever I remind myself of that, I truly feel in my whole body just like total relaxation. I'm like, oh, right. Oh my God. Wow. I can't believe I was taking my role so seriously. Can't believe I was taking myself so seriously. And I'll often feel this way where like some kind of drama will happen in my life and I'll be like really in the drama. And then, when it becomes resolved or it passes, I'll sort of reflect on it and go, oh my God, I can't believe that was so believable. Like that was, I really believed that. I really believed that. I really believed that that was real. And it's not to say that our suffering is not real. We obviously feel real pain and real suffering. And and there is a way, and it is possible to move on from it. To move on from it. Life is but a dream, right? Like, what would happen? What would happen if we didn't keep reattaching ourselves to our problems, you know? And this is what we do. This is, I'd say, also part of the healing journey. We have these dramas, we have these problems, and they will keep coming up and manifesting in our lives in different ways, until we have reached a level of consciousness where we go, oh, I see you now. I see it now. I don't have to choose this anymore. I don't have to choose this anymore. I had a really bizarre experience this past month where, and it's still new and personal, so I'm not going to go into the total details of it right now, but I will speak of it and I will speak about it, where I found myself on the opposite end of a relational pattern that I'm usually on. Does that make sense? Right? So like we usually kind of, I guess I'm referring to how like we perpetuate our own suffering, right? It's like we kind of like inhabit these roles because we're attached to some kind of story. And then it's like they keep repeating themselves. They keep repeating themselves. And I've been repeating the same relationship pattern for so, so long. And I have a lot of awareness of it. And then all of a sudden this month, I found myself on the opposite side. And I was like, whoa, this is really trippy. It's like, I was like, there's a crack in the space-time continuum. Like, what is going on? What is going on? I know what's going on, I think. I don't really know what's going on, but what I suspect is that I'm changing. What I suspect is that I'm letting go of something, some part of my identity that I've been holding on to for so long that I kind of, in this moment, just like popped right out of that and like entered into the seat across. I entered it into the other role. So that was pretty wild. I'm so grateful for the experience. I'm so grateful for the person on the other side. That was just the most sacred mirror for me. It really was like I was looking at myself. I was like, whoa, wow, I know that. I know that so well. And I was also able to have so much compassion, so much understanding for the other person because they were me, because they were me. I was seeing myself because I had been there before. And so I felt this sort of swell of gratitude and compassion in that moment for both of us playing something out. We were playing something out together. And so it brings me back to this curiosity about clown consciousness. Like, oh, yeah, we're always playing something out. We are always playing something out. Okay. I don't know how long I've been talking for, but I did want to look back at my notes. Okay. I think I'm kind of wrapping it up here. I'm wrapping it up here. But is there anything that feels really important? I guess I want to speak for a moment about 2025 and crossing the threshold into a new year. And I keep having this experience where I try to plan, and anytime I try to plan the future, which by the way doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist. We create the future. Anytime I try to plan the future, a big sort of foggy haze sweeps through. And even if like am making it up. I mean, we're all just making it up, right? Even if I'm making it up, I'm like, okay, these are my goals. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to accomplish. Like, as I'm like writing these bullet points down, there's a part of me that's just like, this is so made up. Like, it's like you're just making this up. The real truth, the real truth is that I do not know what will manifest. I do not know how it will look. And I keep coming back to not taking the plan seriously. And sometimes I do. Sometimes I take the plan seriously, and honestly, it's stressful. It's stressful. Because all of a sudden, when I take my plan really seriously, I get really hard on myself, like really hard on myself. And it's like I immediately am like sabotaging the whole thing. So anyway, I have a whole thing around that. But I think there's a deeper wisdom that I'm tapping into for myself, which is really simply being in the seat, in the driver's seat of my own authority, connecting to my authenticity, and through that, my intuition. Authenticity and intuition have a lot to do with one another. So making choices and decisions from this like gut feeling, decisions from the feeling of it. And feeling into my energetic intention, these intentions that are really deep and wide and broad. And when I tap into the feeling and the energy of the intention, and when I connect deeply to myself, capital S, self, then all of a sudden I can get way more creative around being able to see and perceive all of the different opportunities and doors that are in front of me. No longer is there just one way. No longer is there one way to go. But actually, when I connect with the feeling of what I want, then all of a sudden it can manifest in so many ways. So, this is a practice for me. Like I said, sometimes I get really serious, and sometimes I really like, yeah, believe that things need to be really hard. I like to torture myself and make things way harder than they need to be. And then I can remember, oh, clown consciousness. Oh, what's the intention? Oh, sit back in the seat of myself. I did a little exercise that I want to share with you because, again, it's an invitation if you feel inspired by this. I don't know where I got it from. It was not an original idea, but I don't remember who gave me this idea. But I wrote down my intentions for 2025 from three different perspectives. I wrote down, how do I want to feel? So that's more of like the feeling realm. And then what does my heart want? So that's the realm of the heart. And what does my soul want? The realm of the soul. And I was really like delighted to see how different all of these channels were, right? The different channels of my feelings, my heart, my soul. And just tuning into that channel and listening and asking, oh, what do you want? So I'm going to read it. Um, I want to feel, I want to feel alive and in touch with my vital energy. I want to feel my inner fire and my fight. I want to feel resourced, rested, and rejuvenated. And my heart, this is what my heart wants. Which I will just pause to say, it's so interesting, the different vibe, because the heart, it's so simple. Let me show you. My heart wants love, depth, intimacy, beauty, play, passion, tenderness, compassion, care, and connection. And my soul, ooh, get this, get this. My soul wants mastery, depth, wisdom, empowerment, transformation, vital energy, and embodiment of all of the elements. Yeah, when I channeled my soul, I was like, whoa, wow, this is some like big, powerful um energy. Really, I felt a quality of weightedness, right? Like my soul. It's like, what did my soul come here to do? Oh, my soul came here to master something. Don't know what it is, but it wants mastery and depth. And then my heart, so beautiful. My heart also wants depth, but love, connection, play, beauty. Okay, I'm going to end there. Um, Thank you for being here. Thank you for being on the other side. Thank you for witnessing me. Um, yeah, just to remind you, I am doing more episodes. I started a paid subscription, which is so cool. I already have one paid subscriber, you guys. I'm really proud. And I'm so grateful. I'm so, so grateful. But I will have a public episode happening once a month at the end of the month as a sort of review. And then generally speaking, probably about weekly, I'll have some episodes that are behind the paywall. And this way I can sort of get a little bit more personal. It's a safe space where I feel like I'm not just talking to the random internet, but that there's actually I can form a relationship with you on the other side, and we can. I hope this is what I hope, and this is what I invite. More of a depthful relationship can emerge between us. Um, if you're watching this, that means you're either on Substack or YouTube. Feel free to write a comment. I will respond to the comments. I'm here. I'm wanting to engage with you. And don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and share this with people that you think would enjoy it. Yeah. I'm wishing you a magical and empowering and inspired and peaceful crossing over the threshold into the new year. And I will see you on the other side. Thank you.